Mexico. This state is known as the land of enchantment, and it's easy to see why. New Mexico has a wide variety of beautiful landscapes that range from rose-colored deserts to broken mesas to snow-capped mountain peaks. Geographically, New Mexico is part of the American Southwest. New Mexico is bordered to the east by Texas and Oklahoma, to the north by Colorado, and to the west by Arizona. The state's southern border is divided between Texas on the southeast and Mexico on the southwest. New Mexico's culture is influenced by the state's Hispanic and Native American traditions. New Mexico's scarlet and gold state flag is inspired by the royal standards of Spain, and its center is inspired by Zia, the ancient sun symbol of an indigenous Pueblo tribe. New Mexican food is also a blend of traditions from Spain, the Mediterranean, Mexico, the Pueblo Native Americans, and the cowboy chuck wagon fare. But New Mexican food has some distinctive differences that set it apart from other Southwestern cuisine. And we'll be learning more about that a little later on. Today's tour of New Mexico will include many of the state's distinctive destinations, including the historic adobe buildings at Taos Pueblo, White Sands National Monument, Carlsbad Caverns, and even Bandelier National Monument. We're thrilled that our visit here coincides with the 45th annual Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. While at the Balloon Festival, we'll be meeting a very special friend from the Make-A-Wish Foundation of New Mexico, Hannah Hurd. Together, we'll take an amazing balloon ride and learn about the science of ballooning. One of the most beloved residents of New Mexico is renowned 20th century artist Georgia O'Keeffe. In addition to famous works that showcase desert landscapes, the New Mexico sky, and eye-popping floral imagery, Georgia O'Keeffe was an early champion of healthy eating and sourcing local foods whenever possible. We'll be visiting the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum to learn about her art. We'll also meet Margaret Wood, the author of A Painter's Kitchen. To understand O'Keeffe's culinary philosophy, we'll be recreating 4 O'Keeffe-inspired dishes with Chef Michelle Chavez. So let's get started exploring New Mexico. Georgia O'Keeffe was one of the most innovative artists of the 20th century. Throughout her lifetime, her work expressed what she called the wideness and wonder of the world as I live in it. O'Keeffe first visited northern New Mexico in the summer of 1929. The Spartan landscapes, the native art, and the adobe architecture had a life-changing impact on her art. The Georgia O'Keeffe Museum in Santa Fe, New Mexico, opened in July 1997. Its collection includes 140 O'Keeffe oil paintings, nearly 700 drawings, and hundreds of additional works.
She lived in a way that we would consider now very modern, and it was practically revolutionary for the time. She grew her own food, she ate sustainably.
Did she choose to live here because she was able to have a garden?
Yes. One of the reasons she chose it is because it had a large walled garden and it had water rights, which is very important here in the high desert because things don't grow without water. So it was a very important part of why she decided to move here permanently. And here in our big gallery, everything here in these paintings here you can see from one of her bedroom windows, either in Albuquerque or in Ghost Ranch. So these hills, they look fake. When you go out to Ghost Ranch, you will see that that you can tell what they are.
It seems that in all these paintings, it's a picture of the same mountain. Is that true?
It's true. This mountain is called the Pedernal, which means flint in Spanish. And her house in Ghost Ranch was shaped like a U and pointed directly at this mountain. So that was the first thing that she saw when she woke up every morning. She knew from when she was about your age that she was going to be a painter. And one of the interesting things about Georgia O'Keeffe is that she knew what she wanted to paint. She drew it and she painted it. Not a lot of painters do that. So she used drawing to practice what she wanted to do in the painting. Okay, what we have here are some cottonwood trees that she could see from her bedroom window. This has all of her favorite things, bones, flowers, and that mountain I told you about called the Pedernal. So I wanted to tell you about this painting. It's one of my favorite paintings in the museum. It's called Black Hollyhock and Blue Larkspur. Georgia O'Keeffe was famous for her flowers, even though that wasn't the only thing she painted. And one of the reasons I like this painting so much is that hollyhocks grow very easily here, and she painted this one of the first times she ever came to New Mexico. She came to New Mexico in 1929. This was painted in 1930. And she just fell in love with New Mexico. And she liked to see things up really, really close. And in doing that, she gets rid of all of the extra details so that you just see just this very beautiful shape of this star, the beautiful shape of the black flower, and then this blue that kind of comes at you and recedes at the same time.
How did you meet Georgia O'Keeffe?
I had a friend who was working as a companion for her, and she called me up and said she needed to leave. She had to quit her job with Miss O'Keeffe. Would I be interested in working for a famous older artist in this small northern New Mexico village? And I said I would.
Why was her home called the Ghost Ranch?
Well, the Ghost Ranch, in the late 1800s, cattle rustlers found a great place called Box Canyon next to Kitchen Mesa in that area. And they started to discourage people to go look in that area. They called it the land of the witches, Rancho de los Brujos. And then over time, it became known as Ghost Ranch. So even to this day, its name is Ghost Ranch.
What was your favorite thing to make for Miss O'Keeffe?
I really liked making watercress salad. She believed in growing organic food that was harmonious with the area.
What kind of fruits and vegetables did she grow?
She grew an amazing variety. I mean, it was remarkable. She had spinach and chard and kale, onions, green chili, of course, tomatoes, carrots, corn on the cob, all kinds of vegetables. One of the most unusual herbs that she used was called lovage. Roll it between your fingers and then smell it.
Oh my gosh, it smells so great.
Isn't it delicious? So we've got lovage, we've got some purple sage, and then we've got parsley and basil and tarragon.
What can other chefs learn from Georgia O'Keeffe today?
If you have great, natural, healthy food in the beginning, you don't need to do much to the food to make it delicious.
We know that she lived to be 98 years old. Do you think the way she ate had anything to do with how long she lived?
I really do.
Why was her culinary vision a perfect match for New Mexico?
Well, I think partly because she grew foods that naturally grew on the land, and that she really enjoyed the foods of New Mexico, including green chili, and that she liked food that was beautiful, healthy, very colorful, and nicely presented.
This morning we're going to be making some pozole. So the first thing we're going to need to do is I'm going to have one of you slice the garlic. We're going to add a little bit of oil first because we want our oil hot, and then we're going to add our aromatics, which are onions and the garlic that we've chopped. So why don't one of you go ahead and add the pozole to the pot now?
Do we need the bay leaves too?
Absolutely, you always use bay leaves when you're cooking a legume. You're gonna sprinkle in a little bit of that oregano right there. Okay, Delaney, you wanna add the rest of the pork in there?
Is this already cooked pork?
It's already cooked pork. We took it and we simmered it in a little bit of the chicken broth that we have right here. Add all of that stock to it. This is excellent on a day when it's a little cold outside, there's a little bit of chill in the air. This is one of our favorite dishes. So as soon as all of your flavors come together, about half hour or so, this should be done. And what you're gonna wanna do now is you're gonna wanna ladle this into the bowl, and then Delaney, you're gonna wanna put a little bit of chopped cabbage on top of that as a garnish.
This is so good. It's incredible. Adobe is a strong mixture of earth, water, and straw, used to construct thick-walled buildings that have timber-supported roofs. Pueblo Indians have inhabited the complex of multi-storied adobe homes and ceremonial structures at Pueblo de Taos since they were built in the late 13th and early 14th centuries. The site is remarkably unchanged in appearance since the first Spanish explorers arrived in 1540. Originally, the Taos Pueblo homes had no first floor entrances. As a defense against invaders, the structures could only be accessed by climbing exterior ladders leading to the roof, then climbing down another set of ladders to reach the interior of the buildings. In accordance with tradition, no electricity or running water is allowed in residences inside the Taos Pueblo. Currently, there are about 150 full-time residents. Carlsbad Caverns Caverns National Park is located in the Guadalupe mountain range that runs from West Texas into southeastern New Mexico. Elevations inside the park rise from 3,595 feet in the lowlands to 6,520 feet at the top of the escarpment. The park also encompasses a section of the Chihuahuan Desert, the largest and wettest of the North American deserts, and is home to a diverse variety of ecosystems. But the park is also one of the most important geological resources in the United States. The Guadalupe Mountains are the uplifted portion of an ancient reef that thrived along the edge of an inland sea more than 250 million years ago. Remains of sea life like sponges, algae, snails, nautilus, and many other animals are preserved in the rocks, and scientists from all over the world come here to study their history. But the best known feature of Carlsbad isn't above ground, it's what lies beneath. There are more than 119 limestone caves in the whole park. Many areas in Carlsbad Caverns are marked by a large number of hanging and projecting calcite formations, known as stalactites and stalagmites.
So next we're going to roast some green chilies. And what you want to do here is you want to blacken them and blister them all the way around so that we can remove the peel.
Does the shape or size of the chili affect the flavor?
Absolutely, that's a really good question. When the chilies look really gnarly and twisty, they're going to be hot. Now that snapping sound you're hearing is the snapping sound of the water inside the cells of the chili trying to escape through the skin in the form of steam. What we eat in New Mexico, we eat a lot of green chili, we eat a lot of red chili. And the difference between green chili and red chili is the difference between a grape and a raisin. One is fresh, one is dry. As soon as we get done roasting them, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take these chilies and you're gonna very carefully drop them into a bowl with a little bit of plastic wrap over the top. We're gonna put these in the bowl and let them steam, and as soon as you can touch them, you can peel them. So here's a little trick that I learned. Take your fingers and just rub it over the chili, and the peel should pretty much come right off. So after we get them peeled, let's set them on the plate. So to take out the seeds, here's what you're gonna do. You hold the chili tight, take out the seed pod, and then sort of open the chilies. Now, if you come across a membrane inside, see, this is where all the heat is in a chili, right here, in the seeds, and in this white part right here, the membrane. Pick it up right here, and then just scrape all the seeds. There you go. Okay, Delaney, you're gonna chop those up, and you're gonna chop them up into small pieces. Hadley, why don't you help me out, and let's get this sauce started. So you're gonna start out with a little bit of oil, add half of those onions right there. Can you ever have too much garlic?
No.
I don't think so either. So now why don't you take the flour and put that in? We're gonna make a roux, because you've got the oil in there. Okay, Delaney, you wanna dump the chili in here now? So go ahead and dump it in.
All of them?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I'm gonna add the water to this now. And so now we're just gonna let this simmer. So now, girls, we're gonna make the corn tortillas for our enchiladas. You're gonna take a ball of dough. This dough is called masa, M-A-S-A. Put it right in the middle of the press on top of a piece of plastic. Put the other piece of plastic on top. And then go like this. You put them in the pan, and you put them in the pan with no oil. As soon as the edges of the tortilla start to roll up, it's done. So because we're using fresh corn tortillas, we're gonna wanna use a good amount of sauce because these tortillas are gonna sop it up. So you're probably gonna use 6 tortillas per layer.
Okay.
Okay, so now, Hadley, why don't you take the cheese and the chicken and spread that in a thin layer.
And then cheese?
Cheese.
What kind of cheese is this?
This is Monterey Jack. We're gonna do a little bit of layer of sauce.
How many layers are we going to do?
We're just gonna do a couple. Then we're gonna take these and throw them in the oven for a few minutes until all of the cheese is melted. All right, so the enchiladas are coming out of the oven. Here, let's take a piece out of the middle, because that's the best piece.
Mmm, this is so good. It's fantastic. White Sands National Monument is located about 16 miles southwest of Alamogordo, New Mexico. It is comprised of 275 square miles of white sand dunes. This sand, composed of gypsum crystals, is the largest gypsum sand dune in the world. Gypsum is water soluble, which means that it dissolves in water. As a result, it's almost never found in the form of sand. Under normal conditions, rain dissolves gypsum and carries it out to sea. But White Sands Monument is located in an enclosed area known as the Tularosa Basin. With no outlet to the ocean, rain doesn't have a chance to go anywhere. So when the gypsum dries out, it forms into crystals on the surface of the ground called selenite. Fun science fact! Unlike dunes made of quartz-based sand, gypsum does not readily convert the sun's energy into heat. That means you can walk on it safely in your bare feet, even in the hottest days of summer. Bandelier National Monument is comprised of 33,677 acres in New Mexico. Bandelier is home to numerous protected ancestral Pueblo architectural sites and was designated a national monument by President Woodrow Wilson on February 11, 1916. It's named for Swiss-American anthropologist Adolf Bandelier, who researched Pueblo sites and championed their preservation. Natural caves and holes in the sheer face of the imposing rock wall form the foundation for many of the historically significant ancestral Pueblo homes.
Okay, so to make our pumpkin soup, we're not actually going to use a pumpkin, we're going to use a winter squash. So now we're going to take the spoon and we're going to scoop out the seeds and all of that inside. What I want you to do is take this olive oil and you're going to pour a little bit of olive oil in the bowl of the squash, and we're going to salt both of the squashes, and then we're going to roast these in the oven until the squash itself is really soft. So you see how it's got a little bit of brown on top? Okay, that's where you're going to start developing all your sugars and your flavor. I'm going to start taking the squash out of the skin. If you will, put a little bit of oil in the pot for me. We're going to use the meat because the skin is really thick.
Should we add these onions?
You should add the onions, please.
Is this one of George O'Keeffe's recipes?
This absolutely is George O'Keeffe's recipe. Okay, so add the herb salt, add all of that. Okay, add the nutmeg. Okay, so you're gonna want to add the half and half in the chicken stock, and we sauteed the onions, so now I'm gonna pour this in there and we're gonna blend it. Turn it on real slow. You're done. So we can turn it off. We're gonna put it back in the pot to simmer for just a few minutes and really marry all of those flavors together. Do you all want to try your creation here?
Sure.
It's delicious. Please go ahead.
Mmm, this is really good.
Thank you, girls. You did a great job.
The Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta started out as a small gathering of 13 balloons in 1972. It has since grown to become the largest balloon festival in the world. Balloon Fiesta is held the first week of October each year. The celebration honors the world's oldest aviation sport, ballooning, and features both hot air and gas balloons. The Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta now attracts balloon pilots and crews from around the world. More than 500 hot air balloons participate, and nearly 100 will be whimsically shaped and wildly colorful. Aerodynamics is the way air moves around objects. Aerodynamics acts on cars, airplanes, kites, birds, and of course, hot air balloons. So here's how it works. An object moves through the air based on the core forces of flight: lift, weight, thrust, and drag. Let's use a hot air balloon to better understand how these forces work. The two most important forces on a balloon are weight and lift. First, weight. The heavier an object is, the stronger the push that has to be applied to move it in the direction opposite from gravity. Remember, gravity is the force that attracts an object towards the center of the Earth. So a balloon holding 14 people would need a stronger upward push than a balloon holding only 2 people because it has more weight. Lift is the force that lets an object move upwards. Because the hot air inside the balloon is lighter than the air around it, the hot air rises and takes the balloon with it. This process is called lift. When the balloon is ready to land, air inside the balloon is allowed to cool so it becomes heavier, allowing the force of gravity to pull it back towards the Earth. The force that tries to slow an object down is drag. The more air that hits the surface of an object, the more drag is created. Round surfaces have less drag than flat ones. Narrow surfaces have more drag than wide ones. The opposite of drag is thrust. Thrust is the push that propels objects forward. To keep moving forward, an object, like an airplane, must have more thrust than drag. When it comes to drag and thrust, hot air balloons aren't moving fast enough to be significantly affected by drag, and there's no engine producing thrust, so these two forces have little effect. Today we're here with Mr. Morgan, a balloon pilot. Can you tell us what makes the hot air balloon lift into the sky?
Well, what we do is we fill the balloon full of cold air, then we turn on that big burner that actually heats the air inside. And the balloon itself is about 10 stories high. And that flame that shoots in there is actually only about 30 feet high.
How much does the balloon weigh?
The basket, the envelope, and the tanks weigh about 700 pounds.
How do you control the direction of the balloon?
We can make it go up by heating it up a little bit more, climb up a little bit higher, but we have to go with the winds. Wherever the winds go, we go, because we can only control up and down.
How many balloons go up in the air on Balloon Fiesta?
Here we usually have between 5 and 550 balloons at this particular fiesta, which is the largest balloon rally in the world.
How do you land it safely?
You look for a nice big open field, then we open the little vent at the top of the balloon and allow the balloon to drop into the field.
The highlight of the Balloon Fiesta each morning is the mass ascension. All of the participating balloons are launched in waves. Launch directors, known as zebras, because they wear easily recognizable black and white striped outfits, will be directing the launch so that all the balloons ascend in a safe, coordinated manner. Once in the air, passengers and pilots enjoy an amazing view. Flying in a balloon is certainly exciting, but it also takes courage. We can't think of anyone more courageous than our new friend, Hannah Hurd. Hannah Hurd was diagnosed with a brain tumor when she was just 10 years old, but Hannah has stayed strong and become a model of courage for other New Mexico kids. Hannah, what advice do you have for other kids who are fighting a tough battle?
Be strong, that's the main thing.
Hannah, you're so brave. Why did you want to come and do a balloon flight?
Well, I've lived in New Mexico all my life, but I've never flown in a balloon, and I thought it would be really fun.
Then let's go fly.
So next we're gonna make a Norwegian apple pie cake. So we're gonna use a little bit of the orange juice in this water to keep the apples from turning brown. So we wanna get the apples cut into small pieces and then put them in the water so that they don't turn brown. In order to start the cake, we have to cream together the butter and the sugar. So grab the butter and go ahead and put it in. We're gonna start the paddle going and then add the sugar to it, and we're creaming that in. So the sugar and the butter is all creamed together. You want to crack the egg in it? Okay, now as soon as the egg blends in, you're going to add the baking powder, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, the toasted pecans, and the flour. Just add them in slowly. Okay, good. Okay, so Hadley, why don't you start taking the apples and kind of strain them with your hands and put them right into the mixer. You're going to use a little bit of this acidilated water. Add the water until it looks like a batter. We're going to take the bowl off of the mixer. So this is a non-stick cake pan, which is what I recommend using so that your cake comes out nicely. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna bake it in the oven until a toothpick inserted comes out clean. All right, it's ready. We've got a little bit of cracking on the top. Now this is gonna be a really moist cake. Okay, so we've got nice cake texture. This is homemade whipped cream, it's heavy cream. It's called chantilly cream, actually. It's a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of sugar. I think you should dig in.
This is so good.
This is incredible.
We're thankful to everyone who so graciously shared their love of New Mexico with us. We have loved visiting Santa Fe, Taos Pueblo, the dunes of White Sand National Monument, and the underground sites at Carlsbad Caverns. Thanks to Michelle Chavez, Margaret Wood, and everyone at the George O'Keeffe Museum who showed us what a wonderful combination art and food can make. We're also grateful to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of New Mexico for introducing us to our new friend Hannah, who's the definition of New Mexico courage. And we love celebrating the 45th anniversary of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. We've learned that discovering past cultures and flying with new friends isn't just good, it's twice as good!
is Good with Hadley and Delaney is brought to you by Mila. Immer Besser, forever better. Mila. And by Cuties. Cute you can eat. Cuties. And by KitchenWorks. Wherever we go, that's where the party's at. KitchenWorks.